The pj-fleck-show is brought to you by Cub Foods and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Minnesota. It's the pj-fleck-show with Hobie Artigue, Ron Johnson, and Justin Gaard. Let's row the boat.
Everybody in the West right now towards that top. Those top four teams control their own destiny. I mean, we talked about being in November and being in the hunt for a championship. And here we are with, 19 days left. I mean, that's what we said, that every year we want to be in that type of hunt, and with all the challenges we've had and all the playmakers out, we're in that hunt. I think what it says a lot about the fight of this football team.
Well, there's still plenty to fight for the Gophers as it's on to Iowa after that game against Illinois, and we break it down here on the PJ Fleck Show along with Gophers head coach PJ Fleck, former Gopher Ron Johnson, KFAN's Justin Gaard. I'm Hobie Artigue. And Coach, you said after that game on Saturday that finishing was a key theme that needed to get done. So how did this team start the week getting ready for yet another huge game coming up on the Big Ten schedule?
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about starting fast, accelerate in the middle, and finish strong. We weren't able to do that against Illinois. And when you're not able to do the things that you really focus on that really make you a good football team, you're not going to win that particular football game, right? And there's a reason why you win. There's a reason why you lose. We constantly dissect that and learn from it the best we possibly can. And then you take all those lessons and do everything you can to apply it to the next game. Got to give Illinois a lot of credit. Played a really good football game. Did a lot of things and that took away some of the things that we do, and we just couldn't get out of our own way. We threw an interception, didn't get a 4th and 1, missed a field goal, missed an extra point, and did some other things that were uncharacteristic of us with some penalties. So, but that's a recipe. No matter who you play, you're not going to win a football game in the Big Ten. I mean, the Big Ten's too competitive, especially this year across the board. The parity of it's very similar. So we got to play way better to win more games down the stretch.
Yeah, Coach, 3rd and longs, and again, that's not a recipe for success to end up in that. But what were some of the offensive struggles that went into some of those 3rd down situations that just didn't work out your way?
I just didn't think we were very efficient. We didn't, if we threw the ball on 1st down, we didn't complete it. If we ran the ball on 1st down, we didn't get enough yards. And then if we threw the ball on 2nd down and we was incomplete, we had way too many 3rd and longs. You hit it right on the head. Our 1st and 2nd down efficiency was really poor, and all year it's been pretty good. Especially the 4 straight Big Ten games we just won, it was really good in those games. But again, those are the recipes for what we do to win football games. And when you don't have that recipe, it's really hard to win the football game.
The offensive line had been really good, certainly through Big Ten play. They'd only allowed 3 sacks in Big Ten play. You were running the ball on everybody. It seemed like they took a step back against Illinois, and it kind of affected everything you wanted to do. Giving up 6 sacks, Tanner was clearly uncomfortable. So where did they take a step back, or what were they struggling with on Saturday?
Well, I think that's a credit to Illinois a little bit. Well, first of all, it's our 1st or 2nd down efficiency, right? I mean, we get a 1 yard or get a negative play on 1st down. We're throwing it on 2nd, maybe drop back a little bit more than we needed to back or wanted to drop back in that football game. And then all of a sudden you get sacked once or twice, and then all of a sudden it spirals downhill from there. But you got to give Illinois a lot of credit. They did a lot of things that we hadn't seen before on 3rd down with some blitzes and some structures. But that's what every game does. I just didn't think we played very well up front. And I don't think our offensive line, I don't think they would disagree. And, but they're a very mature group who will own up to it. But again, I mean, we didn't put them in very advantageous position either as even a coaching staff. I mean, the interception that's tipped right off the bat, they score 7 points, then we come down and we don't get a 4th and 1, and we're down 14-0 pretty quickly, and we miss a field goal. I mean, there's only so many possessions in a game like that where both teams are running the football. But everything comes back to me. I've got to be a better head coach, and I've got to make sure that we are in the right positions to succeed against whichever opponent we're playing.
Coach, JG alluded to the running game. I mean, you've had veteran running backs go down this season, but this is the first time that your freshman backs in Kai Thomas and Bucko Irving really had to be the go-to guys from the first snap on Saturday. How much was on their plate going into that game, and how much is going to be on theirs once again, kind of going up against Iowa's run defense has been pretty good in Big Ten play this year?
Well, a lot's going to be on their plate. I mean, it has to be for us to be able to have success. And I know they're freshmen, but they can handle it. Kai and Bucky are ready for that moment. Are they going to be more ready next year? Absolutely. But they need to be ready. You don't have a choice to be ready. We've lost 5 scholarship tailbacks this year. It's a year like I've never seen in my 9 years of being a head football coach with tailbacks. But it happens. There's a Big Ten team that won the Big Ten championship about 20 years ago that lost 5 tailbacks in a year. I mean, it happens, but you've got to find a way to be able to overcome that. But every day we're learning. But those 2 guys are really good football players, and we'll rely heavily on them down the stretch. And even during that game, we lost Crab halfway through it, and I think that really hurt the flow of our offense as well. And just because you have a good offensive line doesn't promise you anything. I mean, everybody's got to play up to their capabilities and coach up to their capabilities. And again, we just didn't do a good enough job of that on Saturday. And you got to give Illinois a lot of credit. I mean, they also beat Penn State. They beat us. I mean, they've beat Nebraska. This is a good football team. I know the record might not necessarily say that, but they're a really good football team. And they're playing with a ton of veterans that Lovie Smith recruited and really are a really skilled football team, especially defensively. They changed their scheme halfway through the year to kind of fit their personnel a little bit better. And you got to give them a lot of credit. Yeah,
Coach, you brought up Chris Hartman-Bell. How's he doing? What's the update on him?
He's doing good. He practiced today, and he looked really good.
And so when you're looking at Chris Hartman-Bell and just the absence, we've seen it a couple times now where he's gone out in games and it seems like the offense is just missing something. How do you overcome that, in the second half, him going out? Is there a way to kind of plan for that now going forward?
Yeah, it's really just making sure that, this whole year at wideout, I mean, Daniel Jackson's been out a little bit. Chris has been out pretty much more than half the year, if you really kind of add up the snaps. And then Daniel Jackson and then Dalen Wright. I mean, they've kind of been in and out as well. So, I mean, the most consistent thing about this year has been inconsistency. And it's unfortunate. Going into the year, everybody's really excited about the offense with the many pieces returning as they can be, especially in the playmaking ability in the backfield. And maybe there were some questions on defense where, the defense has done a great job and also stayed pretty healthy, which has really helped. And then the offense, there's been a lot of questions because of some injuries. So, but we've got to get way more guys involved as we keep going forward, and we will. It puts a little bit more stress and pressure on the CoCo Keiths and the Brevin Spanfords and the Michael Brown Stevensons of the world, but they're going to step up and step in and do really well. I mean, we got ourselves down in that game, which is not where we really want to be come the second half. But we battled back, got in a good 2-minute drill. Put a good drive together, got points, and then it's unfortunate we threw an interception on the last drive.
On that 2-minute drill, it was the best. You moved the ball all day, and then you finished it. I mean, is that something you can take moving forward? Certainly the tempo had to be upped out of necessity there.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you're always constantly taking from what you can do in a game and what you prove you can do. And, in some of the 2-minute drills we've had before, we've stalled out, but this was one that we were able to finish. And, we've been working on it a lot. And I'm just proud of our guys being able to execute it. And, but again, it's unfortunate that, we just didn't play our best game. I never question our players ever, or question their heart, their fight, their spirit. I mean, they brought it. It's just we didn't execute, and Illinois did, and that was the difference in the game.
Coach, Brevin Spanford had probably statistically his best game as a Gopher on that 2-minute drill. He really, really stepped up. CoCo Keiths, he had a one-handed catch looking like OBJ out there that kept the drive going. We've chatted about it earlier this season, but how much can those tight ends help and continue to help create more on offense as you move forward?
Yeah, the OBJ reference. That was there you go.
Tough week for OBJ. Yeah, but hey, we make the reference.
But we just have to be more consistent and getting a lot more people involved. But our tight ends have been a lot more involved. I think Mike and Matt have done a great job of getting those guys involved this year, more than they probably ever have been. And they've worked really hard at being more involved. And we knew that, even with Crab being down at the beginning of the year, I mean, we were going to have to be an offense by committee. And we knew that going into the year. And then all of a sudden you have all the other injuries. And then you knew you had to be that even more. So we're going to have to rely on those guys heavily as we keep going forward. And I know they're looking forward to the challenge.
Yeah, Coach, when you look at the defense, you made some adjustments to kind of slow Illinois down in the second half as the offense finally figured it out and got going a little bit. But when you're coming out the gate like that slow and then you have to make those adjustments, what is your defense looking at, or what is your coaching staff looking at when they're doing that?
Well, a lot of it is, everybody scripts their first 10 or 15 plays, and a lot of things that you have within those 10, 15 plays are new wrinkles. And I think that's why sometimes you see opening drives go down the field so quickly on just around college football or the NFL, because those are all scripted and you're doing what you're doing, but you're doing things with a little bit of a wrinkle that maybe that defense or offense hasn't seen. And so you're able to surprise them a little bit. But there's only so many plays in the game plan that you're doing, and eventually you can calm it down and you can plug a hole in the boat if there happened to be one. And a lot of times you can just be able to stop it, even if it's a new wrinkle. I mean, your rules and your policies that you have, and your keys can really kind of put a stop to those holes in the boat pretty early without any points. But unfortunately, they got 2 quick touchdowns on us. But I was really proud of the defense and being able to settle down, make those adjustments from some of the new wrinkles that Illinois had put in.
One of the hole pluggers was Jack Gibbons, it appeared, and he's been plugging holes all season long. I mean, after those first couple of drives, it felt like, to me, PJ, he was making basically every single tackle. He had another terrific game. We've talked about him a lot on this show and on the radio, but just what have you seen from him week to week?
Yeah, they were doing a few things that are his keys, and they were, you know, a lot of the times when you study film, a key takes you to a certain play, takes you to a certain area, takes you to the ball, takes you to your gap. And they were doing some things that he keys, and that's what we do during game plans. And you know, they got him a little bit out of rhythm and out of his gap here and there. But, you know, once he figures it out, he's really intelligent. He's a really good football player, and he rarely makes the same mistake twice. And it's tough to be able to get him. And they got him a few times. They still made the play, just, you know, a little bit further down the field. But as the game went on, I thought he dominated really well.
All right, still much more to come here on the PJ Fleck Show as we take a look at what's ahead for the Gophers. It's going to be time to play for the Pig on Saturday as the Gophers go to Iowa to take on the Hawkeyes. We preview the next opponent on the schedule when we return here on the PJ Fleck Show as the Gophers try to bring home the bacon.
Let's row the boat. You're watching the PJ Fleck Show.
Welcome back to the PJ Fleck Show along with Gophers head coach PJ Fleck, Ron Johnson, Justin Gaard. I'm Hobie Artigue. And coach, it's the Iowa Championship week, and this game always means a little bit more both on the inside and also the outside, as we know, as you play for the Pig. How much is that trophy talked about in that building as you try to bring back home Floyd of Rosedale?
Well, it's talked about all week. You know, I mean, you don't just focus on the trophy. You focus on playing your best football of the year, or the trophy really won't matter because you're not going to be bringing it home. It's down to who plays the best football game on Saturday for 3 hours. And you know, we haven't won in Iowa City since 1999. I graduated high school in 1999. So, you know, we've got to find a way to be able to break a lot of these streaks and a lot of things that, you know, we haven't done for a long period of time. And this is no different. They're a really good football team. They're really sound. They're well coached. They create a ton of takeaways. They lead the country, or they're number 2 in the country in interceptions. They got more interceptions than they do sacks. They're a football team, and they always have been. They got a great tradition over there. They've had 2 head coaches in about 50 years, and they play really well to what they do and their strengths. And you got to give them a lot of credit because they know how to play their style of football over a long period of time and plug the pieces in. Seems like every year they just plug in the same guys. Guys graduate, they just plug in the next guy who looks just like the other guy.
Yep.
And plays just like the other guy. So that's a credit to them.
Yeah, Coach, when you're looking at their defense, 19 interceptions. We saw early on, interceptions were the key to winning a lot of games they won early. Haven't happened so much since, but when you're looking at facing a defense like this, how do you prepare your quarterback for all the stuff that they're going to try to do to take the ball away?
Yeah, well, they played a lot of teams who don't throw the ball a ton. You know, they run the ball a little bit more. So, I mean, those interceptions have come down. But again, I mean, they're getting a lot more sacks now than they did at the beginning of the year. Here's an example of one of them. I mean, you know, they're incredibly disciplined. Their eyes are on the quarterback the entire time. The way they run their scheme and their system, they're really good tacklers. They play disciplined, sound football, and everybody's in sync with each other. Talk about complementary defense. Everybody understands everybody's role. And when the opportunities present themselves, they're very opportunistic. They take advantage of them, and they don't miss. You throw them the football, they're going to catch it. You give them an opportunity to pick it off, they will. You don't block the right person, and you give them an inch on the offensive line, they'll create a gap and go get a sack or a negative run. So, again, they're very talented. They understand their offensive scheme. They don't turn the ball over on offense. You know, they protect it. They make the game shorter, run the football effectively, hit you with some nakeds and play actions in there. And that's kind of what they do. And their special teams have been incredibly complementary in connecting the offensive defense by helping them with field position with the return game.
So for you offensively, how do you balance knowing that they will make you pay for a mistake and you don't want to turn the ball over, but also understanding you've got to go make plays to beat them? What's that balancing act like as you go through the week?
You just hit it. It's balance. And then you got to believe in your people and you got to go attack. I mean, you can't sit there and say, okay, well, we're very timid and shy about doing this or that, but whatever presents itself, we have to do a really good job of. That means running it 90 times. You got to run it 90 times. You got to throw it 90 times. You got to throw it 90 times. I mean, you have to find a way to be able to win the football game like we always talk about and be balanced as you possibly can be. But they do a really good job of taking away a lot of different things and play really sound football. So if you're going to throw it, you better be accurate. You better cover up every hat they have and break tackles. And if you do those things, you can move the ball against them. But if you don't, it's going to be a long day for you.
Looking at Iowa's offense, Coach, Spencer Petras, he had been the guy at quarterback, but then they switched to Alex Padilla against Northwestern last week. You've prepared for more than one QB in other games this year, like Purdue, whenever they were using two quarterbacks. But for Iowa, how much do things change offensively for them, depending on which quarterback is in there, or if at all?
Yeah, well, we don't have a lot of film on Padilla, but we do know what kind of player he is. And you kind of go back to high school film. Not only that, you just watch the game that he played in before. He's a mobile kid. He can throw it really well. He's got great accuracy, good touch. He moves well in the pocket. Again, a really good athlete, maybe not as big as Petras, but he can play really well and run their system. It actually gives them another dynamic that they have. So, but again, we've got to find a way to be our best play our best football game, find a way to create takeaways, and do everything we can for Iowa not to play their best football of the year.
Yeah, Coach, when you look at Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota, it's always been three teams that are always going to try to run the ball. And just like you, Tyler Godson, they have a running back, 140-plus yards against Northwestern. When you're looking at a team that does exactly what you do, which your defense probably gets a lot of work with your own team in practice, but how do you make sure the emphasis on gap integrity, not letting them bounce runs, and then every hat to the ball, how do you make sure that they understand that this is an important week, which every week is, but this is an important week to do it?
Yeah, even our scout team, we really didn't do a lot of scout exchange this week. We did a little bit more 1s-on-2s and 2s-on-1s to be able to really simulate really kind of good on good without going 1s versus 1s and 1s versus 1s all the time. But, they run the stretch play incredibly well. Their center is one of the best. He's probably a first-round pick. They run the stretch play. They run the lead play. They run, the long zone really well. And, again, they're so physical. They're very athletic. And again, they do what they do really well. And, but again, people talk about the rankings and everything. This team's ranked 14th in the country. That just proves rankings don't matter. Where you rank on offense, that doesn't matter. Playing the game, finding ways to win. That's what Iowa's always done. And they're doing it again this year.
And when you look at a team coming off a run like this, now of course, play action, and it's that chess match between you and their coaches. How does your defense and your DBs understand that as well, that your linebackers, you have to stop the run, DBs, we got to be alert for any kind of play action, special plays, because we know we're going to, they're expecting us to go after the run?
It's all about eye integrity. You've got to find a way to be able to train your eyes and have eye integrity and keep your eyes in the right spots. Not take the cheese, not to fall asleep, right? If there's run, then a play action pass goes over the top. And we both have game plans and schemes and to really kind of attack each other, and whoever executes that better is going to find a way to win.
Well, eyes are on Iowa right now, but still much more to come with Coach Fleck, with the Hawkeyes on the horizon, including the hair competition, if you will. Coach, there's been a thing with the offensive line the last few years, impressive, but I think the competition might be over after what we saw from CoCo Keiths, man. Plus, the Gophers started off last Saturday with some skydivers. Is that something on Coach's bucket list? We'll chat about that when we return here on the PJ Fleck
Show. Welcome back to the PJ Fleck Show. Let's row the boat.
Well, Coach, we talked about your tight ends getting involved in the offense, but CoCo Keiths getting involved in the hair competition, if you will, with the offensive line. I saw this on the broadcast, and I had absolutely no words. Any idea as to what to call this hairstyle? Shaves his head and has a braid coming around the side.
Bald is cool. Now, he's not fully bald, but I will say this, is that his roommate is Bailey Schoenfelder, who used to play on our football team, who now fights with kind of the UFC fighting.
Yep.
And it kind of looks like that type of haircut. He already looks kind of like the guy from Braveheart, Yeah. Mel Gibson's friend, but so, I don't know. That's Co, though. One day he comes and it wasn't like this. It was just kind of like a mohawk at one point. And then the next week he came bald with that little spot over there. Who knows what he comes with next, but
that stopped me in my tracks.
It did. I saw it. What
saw it
crossed
live.
your mind whenever you saw it, Coach? Because it is pretty striking.
It doesn't shock you, just like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It does not surprise you at all. You don't even look twice. In fact, he had that in the team meeting, and I didn't even notice it. had no idea. I didn't even notice it. And everybody's kind of laughing. And then we get done with the team meeting and somebody says, Coach, do you see Co's head? And I'm like, well, I looked at Co today. I didn't see anything different because nothing would surprise you with Co. And, but he's just one of those guys, man, you love to have your back. And he's a tough dude. And I mean, that haircut is something special.
Yeah, I thought he was Avatar and he's going to plug into something. But change the subject, Coach. We saw that they had some skydivers coming to the stadium. Have you ever done that, or is that something that you want to do one day?
I've never done it. I definitely want to do it. When we actually gave Bailey Schoenfelder a scholarship, I wanted to be the one skydiving and hand him the scholarship. Video we used to have. So we had it all planned. We had the place. We're ready to go. And then Mark Coyle put a no on that. It's kind of one of those things you really wanted to do and then ask for forgiveness later.
Yeah.
Instead of ask for permission first, but you had to ask for permission, and it's unfortunate. But I don't think the university insurance policies like the idea of me jumping out of an airplane and landing onto a field. It was going to be a tandem jump, though. I wasn't going to be really in control. I was just going to go along for the ride.
With a professional, yeah, that would have made sense. In our final 45 seconds or so, Coach, speaking of bald, Tanner Morgan is named a semifinalist for the Witten Award, Jesse Witten Award, which is about leadership. Jason Witten Award, which is about leadership.
Yeah, I mean, that's not surprising. There's 20 finalists for the Jason Witten Award. And when you talk about what that award's about, it's about the type of person he is, academically, athletically, socially, spiritually, what type of leader he is. And, we're very lucky to have him on our football team. And it's well-deserved of what he's been able to overcome and really kind of be a shining light for people that are going through a lot of adversity.
All right, Coach. Thank you always for the time. Appreciate it. Best of luck in Iowa City this weekend.
You got it, everybody. Roll the boat, Sky Mile, go Gophers. Thanks.
That'll do it for us here on the PJ Fleck Show. We'll see you next week.